When I saw there were going to be 3 days of hearings in the Delphi murders case of Abby Williams and Libby German, with the defendant Richard Allen being in court May 21st to the 23rd, I thought it would be interesting to finally go to Delphi, Indiana, after 3 years of following the case, to witness these court hearings discussing 5 to 6 major issues since the judge does not allow cameras for hearings. I was not planning on doing a YouTube video about my trip, or much of anything other than waking up at 5 a.m., standing outside the courthouse for 3 hours hoping to make it inside, taking detailed notes about what was happening in the courtroom, and then doing YouTube live chats for a few hours to share what happened, and then repeat that for the next 2 days before leaving. Unfortunately, that did not happen, so some people asked me to do a video about the experience, and here we go. The hearings were supposed to be Tuesday through Thursday, all day. So I arrived on Sunday night around 9 p.m. as the sun was just about to set on the horizon, which is the latest I've ever seen a sunset. So I came in on Old State Road 25, and the first thing you see is a Dairy Queen ice cream store, which every town should start with a Dairy Queen. There's a Pizza Hut back over here, and over here is a CVS pharmacy where Richard Allen worked. I knew Delphi was a small town of less than 3,000 people, but I didn't realize that the main part of the town is only about 6 or 7 blocks. So on the left is CVS. I did not go to McDonald's. I did go to Dairy Queen all 3 days. So 1 block over from CVS is the Carroll County Sheriff's Department and jail. The next block has 2 gas stations. On the left here is Office Tavern. Here's the courthouse on the left. Over here is the Odin's Den Tattoo Place. These Google images are from 2015, but I went to a place called the Sandwich Shop over here, which is very good. I got a Reuben for you nosy people. And then there's the fire department and the Delphi Police Department. And on the right here is the library, and just the next few blocks are houses. And about 2 minutes later is when you start approaching Hoosier Heartland Highway, Freedom Bridge, and that's the overpass. Monday was the day before the hearing started, so around 10:30 a.m. I went to Freedom Bridge and walked on Freedom Bridge, but I did not go on the trail because I had to go back to town for lunch at 11:30 at Office Tavern because I wanted to see if I would recognize anybody who walked in on their lunch break. I'm so nosy. But the only person I saw was when I was waiting outside. I saw the former mayor Shane Evans get into his car. Some people said I looked angry in this photo, but it was even before the hearings were canceled. Because of the horrible thing that happened to Abby and Libby on these trails, I did not want to smile in this photo. But I had to take a selfie just to prove to people that I truly was in Delphi. I went to lunch at Office Tavern and it smelled like smoke. But the BLT was pretty good. Soon after lunch, it was revealed that all 3 days of the hearings were canceled, and I was extremely disappointed. But like I said in my community post, this trial and this case is not about me. It's about Abby and Libby and their families and this community, and also Richard Allen and his family. So even though it was disappointing that I was not able to see these 3 days of hearings, that's life. As I said in my community post, this trip cost me over $2,000. However, thanks to some very kind and generous viewers, I've received a little over $400 in donations, so thank you so much to every single person who even gave $1. I truly appreciate all of you. Thank you. I pretty much only checked out Main Street and Franklin Street, which is behind the courthouse. Over here is the DNA King. No, Pizza King. DNA King is one of my subscribers. I need a nap. I got home at 1 a.m. last night. So this is Pizza King, which some of you may recognize the name. I totally forgot to go down to the Marathon gas station over here and Richard Allen's house in this area over here. I needed some eye drops, so I did go into CVS for a few minutes, and it was kind of strange to be in this business where Richard Allen worked for many years. But I did not bother any of the employees to be nosy and ask questions. After lunch on Monday, I had to drive to Carmel, Indiana, because I was invited to dinner by 2 of my very nice subscribers. They took me to a nice restaurant called Monterey Coastal Cuisine. After the hearings were canceled, I decided to go back to the trail and finally go to Monon High Bridge. This is me driving on 300 North. It is sped up. I'm not going 90 miles per hour. That was Mears parking lot. And then on the right is the Hoosier Harvestar camera that captured a car resembling Rick's at 1:27 p.m. You see there's 2 houses on the left. That's the entrance to the Freedom Bridge area coming from CPS. There's still marks from, is that a police officer? There's CPS. Most of you know the building got demolished. Coming from Freedom Bridge onto the start of the trail, I did not realize how exposed people are as people drive by on Hoosier Heartland Highway and also the Old State Road 25 into the town of Delphi. I'm not sure if this was the same way in February 2017. This is the Mears intersection, and that's the entire cornfield. That's Ron Logan's house on the far left. And on the left here, you see there is some kind of old shack or something. Some people wondered if this was a shack that Doug Carter was referencing, but I do not think so. So that's the Mears parking lot. And then on the right, that's the Mears intersection. And I was surprised to see on the right here, it's very far down, maybe like 30 feet. You can't really tell looking at this, but it's very far down. So I don't think Bridge Guy could have walked across this intersection and then avoided the Hoosier Harbor Store camera. In 2017, this is what it looked like as people walked towards Monon High Bridge. This is what it looks like now. They've redone about the first half of the bridge. The creek was muddy. I did not see any fish. In 2017, Platform 1 started at that big slab down there on the left, as you can see from the helicopter footage from February 14th, 2017. Even though this bridge is about 63 feet above the water, it did not look that far down, so I think you could see fish if the water was clear. You cannot see the crime scene from the bridge. It would have been too dangerous to try and climb over this fence. As you can see, the wood from the train tracks is decaying. I did not have any interest in going to the end of the bridge where Bridge Guy told Abby and Libby to go down the hill. I was curious to find out if you were standing at the start of Monon High Bridge and someone else is standing around Platform 1, can you make out their facial features? Because as we know, Witness 4 said she saw a man who appeared to be 20 years old standing on Platform 1 a few minutes before Abby and Libby reached the bridge. Before I asked someone else to film me standing near Platform 1, I had someone else stand near Platform 1 while I stood at the start. The video resolution from my phone is not as clear as I was able to see someone without looking through a phone, but I do wear contacts. I could not make out the eye shape or color, nose or mouth shape, or a decent estimate of the person's age standing near Platform 1. I estimated his height around 5'7" and then asked him how tall he was, and he said 6 foot. There's a new railing that was not there in 2017 that may have contributed to making him look smaller, but then later I stood next to him and I was like, he ain't 6 foot, he's like 5'10", liar. But I was polite and just kept that thought to myself. And now a few thousand people who will watch this. My rental car at the back of the cemetery seemed to be mostly obscured from 300. Although I do not think the Bridge Guy parked at the cemetery. And so Bridge Guy either had to go through the cornfield or 300 or the woods. This is the entrance to the cemetery, and you can see Ron Logan's house over there. This is 300 North. Some people have said it takes maybe 5 minutes to walk from the crime scene to the cemetery. It took me about 2 minutes from the back of the cemetery to 300 North. Then from the cemetery driveway on 300 North to Mears parking lot took me 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So I do think Bridge Guy could have done this alone and also been the man seen on 300 North at 3:57 p.m. I'm 6'1" and I walk fast, but maybe someone who just killed 2 girls in the woods would also be walking fast on 300. This is like wide out in the open, so it's really dangerous for Bridge Guy to have walked, not knowing who's going to be driving on this road, 300, even though it is not very heavily trafficked. Although only 2 cars passed in about 10 minutes when I was standing out near 300. When I noticed a car was approaching, I stepped onto the north side grass off 300. But as you can see from the screenshot, the car was very close. As I was driving on 300, I wondered if I could get a good look and description of somebody walking on that road. And I mostly was going between 25 and 32 miles per hour. But even going that fast, I think a driver on 300 could get a decent look at somebody walking. I did not walk from Mears to CPS. As I approached the Mears parking lot on 300, there was an old dog barking at the Mears property as it watched me walk. But I'm not sure if it would have been outside at 4 p.m. in February 2017. Surprisingly, that only took me, it just passed exactly 5 minutes from the edge of the cemetery. And on the left here is the Mears parking lot. And right now it says 5 minutes and 32 seconds to here. The police said 3 witnesses described a car they saw at the CPS building. So I just drove by, and it does not seem like this direction gives a good view of any cars that would have been parked at CPS. Obviously, it's different now that that building is no longer there. However, on the way back in the opposite direction, I did seem to have a better view. My last stop before I left Delphi was to the Abby and Libby Memorial Park, which is about 2 minutes after Freedom Bridge on Hoosier Heartland Highway. It was bigger than I expected. Also, it was nice to see so many softball fields and places for kids to play safely after what happened to Abby and Libby. I've donated to this park a few times in the past, and it does seem like it does need a lot of upkeep, so for anybody who does donate, it does go to a good cause. Some final takeaways from my trip. The town of Delphi, Indiana is very small. Before Richard Allen was arrested, police and others said it was likely that Bridge Guy was currently or formerly a Delphi resident due to the Monon High Bridge being so secluded. I agree that anybody just traveling through this town would not know that there was this former railroad tracks in the middle of the woods unless somebody told them. But Delphi is so small, with less than 3,000 residents, it's just crazy to think that a local man would plan this and think that he could then go back to life as normal in the small town, unless he did not expect Libby to capture him on video and audio, and maybe he never saw the Hoosier Harvest Store camera on the front of the building. But he passed a group of 4 girls around 1:30 near Freedom Bridge, and probably while he was on Platform 1, looked over at Witness 4 since she gave a description of him. So why would a local man, Bridge Guy, follow through with any kind of nefarious urge to hurt girls in this small town after he was seen by 5 people? It's only a 4-minute drive from the trail to CVS where Richard Allen worked. I have not changed my suspicions about Richard Allen's timeline and certain other things that point towards his guilt. However, it just seems crazy to me that he or any other local man in their right mind could have thought this was something that he could have gotten away with, and obviously he did for 5.5 years. And if he never came forward, he may have gotten away with it forever, if it turns out that he was Bridge Guy. The repeated delays and drama in this trial are frustrating that the families and community have to wait even longer to finally get some answers about whether or not Richard Allen was Bridge Guy. Hopefully, justice is coming before the end of 2024. Sometimes the online community following the Delphi case shows a very dark side with people who are flat out insane and rude, but it was nice to meet some Indiana locals who are subscribed to my YouTube channel who were very kind to me during my visit. And as I said earlier, I'm so appreciative to every single person who donated some of their hard-earned money and gave me between $1 and $50 to put towards the cost of this trip. Hopefully, cameras will be allowed in the courtroom soon so we can all see what happens next. Thank you.